I will hand over to the official. President, will you respond first? Okay.
Yeah. You know, when you want to deal with literature, you must first read. And don't read gossip columns. Because you want to speak about violence, and you attribute that to me. When I'm in the speech quoting what Frantz Fanon says on violence, that our conditions are a product of a violent colonial conquest. And those who want to hold to the benefits of that conquest are not going to give over those things without putting up a violence. And therefore, violence is inevitable. So when you call for the expropriation of land without compensation, it's violence against those who have the land that they got that was ill-gotten. But it's a violence that is characterized by justice. Now we make a point there, which Fanon makes, that at the end of every revolutionary movement, if confronted with resistance from the oppressor, which normally is a violent resistance, you have no any other option but to opt for a violent response. It's not the first thing that was done, was said by the EFF. It was done by the ANC, which was the most peaceful organization, surviving through writing letters to the Queen and sending delegations. And at that time when the ANC was sending delegations to the Queen, the transport system was not so advanced. So it took them 3 months to send a delegation in a ship to send a letter to the Queen, wait for the response, take another 3 months to come. And over a period of time, the ANC realized that this is not working. Let's go take up arms and fight. And that's why you are here. You are here because of the product of violence. That's what violence did. So this thing that you want to sugarcoat violence and create an impression that this was never done, this is not us. Violence and the revolution are inseparable. We are working within the Constitution of South Africa, but if meted with violence, will not hesitate to respond with violence. The Women's Command, one delegate stood up there and said, but why do we need this? Because we've got so many women in the EFF as we speak now. So what are they going to do in the Women's Command when they are actually in this conference, 60%, 70%? Yeah. In the structures, there is women. So what is it that we are going to do ourselves as women in the absence of men, which we can't do in the presence of men? It's a debate that will go to the commissions. They will talk about it, and then we'll hear what do they think, because there is a resolution of the Second National People's Assembly to establish a women's command. If you don't take a different decision, it means that decision stands. And therefore, the new leadership will have to be seized with that thing. Do not undermine the point I make about the re-establishment of the EFF. EFF was formed twice. It was formed in 2013 and almost got killed by COVID-19. And then when conditions were normalized, we now had to come back to form the EFF. So how are we going to do that? From the EFF, from the Women's Command, from the Student Command, there was no time. We had to concentrate at the primary task, and that task was to rebuild the structures of the EFF post the COVID-19. But you know, I've observed, and I forgot to make that point yesterday, I've observed some level of opportunism. So when a person thinks we're not going to make it in the CCT, let's form a women's command. If they don't make it, let's form the youth command. Let's form student command. Now there is a call for a union. Why should it be a decision of the EFF to form a union? Because the formation of a union is a decision of the workers. I'm not the worker. I'm not going to sit here and take a decision on behalf of the workers. The workers have to take a decision on the formation of a union, and that is, if that is a legitimate, credible union, itself will say we are ideologically aligned with the EFF because it represents what we stand. I've seen a lot of people forming unions out of unemployment, especially some from the EFF. They lose positions, they go and form unions. Those unions died even before they existed because that thing of Labor Act requires a lot of things. It's not like the formation of a political party. We hear the call that the teachers want a union, they're being dominated by SADU and all of that. What stops them from forming a union? Let them form it. The EFF is there to align with any progressive leftist political organizations, unions, and non-governmental organizations. So there is a strong opposition to, which was raised yesterday, to dissolution of student command, and that now the youth command can come, but there must be student command. You can see that people are creating so many levels of leadership, so many fragmented structures everywhere. Having been part of forming a political party, I will not take easy decisions on forming anything. It's not an easy decision. It's not. You're going to form a women's command, and then it's going to come to you. Hey, so you must put your hand also. So the same, look at student command. We're carrying it ourselves. It can't carry itself. Then we must form another youth command and then carry it. With what? It creates unnecessary contest. What is wrong having a youth command? With one leadership, you can even put it in the constitution of the youth command that in the leadership of the youth command, there should be this category of people. There should be unemployed youth, there should be professionals, there should be rural youth, township, there should be students. And then you know, in the assignment of those things, they give each other responsibility. Since you are this, concentrate on this. But there is one center where we know we go there if there are issues. Because we're going to go there to say, no, it's not us, it's a youth command. You go to, it's not us, it's a, remember you are talking about these other structures at this level. They are going to have to go to the ground, provinces, regions, and branches. And the EFF itself must also go to build its own regions and branches and what and provinces. We can't overburden ourselves because there is uncontrollable political ambition from some quarters which can't wait to get their turn. To be black conscious is not a mere say. It is what you do. It is your consciousness. It is your alignment. It is what kind of decisions you are for. So you can't be black conscious and kill people in Marikan. We're not fighting. They left the building of the employer. They left it. They left it because you will say they are disturbing the business here, they are a threat to property. They left it and went to stay on a mountain. And a black conscious leader takes guns and go and shoot them at the mountain. When they are away from the establishment's property. So the fist must fall, gets shot at. And what is even more worse, a lie that he has introduced free higher education. That he said there was a year where he announced that from next year there's going to be free higher education, wara 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 wara, and then he left and there was nothing. He said that because he knew he was leaving anyway. It's not black consciousness to lie to black kids. It's not black consciousness, and there's nothing black consciousness about MK. Nothing. So Progressive Caucus is a name we are given to each other in Parliament for convenience sake. That if there are issues that we want to lobby, these are the first people we start with. It doesn't stop us from lobbying the DA, it doesn't stop us from lobbying the ANC or whatever, but these ones we have agreed on primary program of land expropriation without compensation, all of that and all of that. And at the center of those things was the EFF drafting those things. So a progressive organization has to be left in orientation. It has to subscribe to Marx, Lenin, even if it doesn't subscribe to Fanon, but that's fine. But as the most basic, you have to align with the progressive international left. And not just by saying in rallies. It must be in your documents. It must be in your policy that this is where we stand. You don't say we are left because you are talking to EFF. When you go to talk to DA, you're saying we must never support the unconstitutionalists. You're referring to EFF. And you can't even point which position of the EFF is unconstitutional. We're not going to answer the question about Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. You've got his number, and some of you talk to him. Call him. I'm not responsible for Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. 90% of the people who were here, who expected to be here, are here. That's what matters. Whoever is not here was not supposed to be here from the beginning. So you are not going to reduce this organization to some individual. We're going to refuse that. We're going to refuse that. We gave a very long political report yesterday, like 80 pages. It didn't have such names. You are intellectually so inferior that you can't even engage with that document, and then you bring gossip. We must be monitoring movements of individuals. Why concern about one person over so many people who are here? As if he is the conference. As if he's not here, conference will not happen. It's going to happen, it's happening without him. It's not here. I heard people say he's here, he's doing this. He's not here. He's not here. And it's not our interest to entertain such nonsense. It's not our interest. We're dealing with political issues here, not egoism, not people who think they are bigger than this organization. It will show them once again that it's bigger than all of them. So we as a matter of principle, SG and policy position, we're no longer going to answer any nonsense about Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. Never. When a journalist asks you that question, you must say, ask another question. You can be smarter than that. Ask something else. This matter is closed. You can talk about it amongst yourselves, but don't bring it to us. We are refusing that. Don't do that. Don't reduce the whole ideological political report to Sunday world gossip, because that's what they thrive on. And we know what is the relationship of Sunday world, its owners and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. We don't want to talk about it. Don't push us. Don't push us. We know Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's friendship with the owner of Sunday World. And by that extension, we know his relationship with Sunday World, which we can easily describe without any fear. No one can do anything about it. No one. I spoke about all the officials. There's another problem of factionalism and selective hearing. I thanked the national chairperson. I thanked the officials. I thanked the national chairperson, and I thanked the DSG. Then I went into town about the SG, and I went to town about the TG. So to say I didn't thank them, it's dishonest. You know, I mentioned them. Yes, even my family, I mentioned it in passing. You wanted me to mention it in detail and call them by name. Matumi Mashatula, Tsepomalema. I said my family. And then in the family, I went out to thank my wife. But you can't come here and say I didn't thank my family. So, as you speak, there's areas where you put emphasis on. And you guys, I don't know why you're being like this, because I thought you'll be feeling sorry for yourself. Because I was there speaking to you for 3 hours, 40 minutes. You want to add another 2 names. You must know each name is a minimum of 10 minutes. So every time you say you didn't include what you must know, it's likely to take 40 minutes, that subject alone. So if you wanted me to just go to town about everyone, would have taken the whole day with CCT members, because if I go to town with all of you here, then another question is going to be, we heard you about the officials, but what about CCT members? Are you not happy with them? I thanked them. Thanked the ground forces. And then someone's going to say, why not thanking Vuyana? For what? No, everyone was covered. SG, I don't know if there's something you can do.